Welcome back, everybody. This week in America, great to have you with us on the program. One of our favorite, most popular guests back to share the incredible journey he had through several lifetimes as far back as 1,000,000 years, the blunders, the triumphs, the many worlds and places where these amazing experiences took place. Robert experienced several sleep-time visits to other worlds as a child, witnessed countless alien craft. These experiences continue to date in both wake and sleep states. He studied concert piano at age 3, but changed his calling to science following his visionary experiences. The book, The Legacy series, is the culmination of these experiences shared with the world for the first time. Robert spent 40 years studying science, religion, and the science of life, presented by Dr. Ernest Norman, validating sightings that started in 1962 and expanded into visions on July 13th, of 1973. He proceeded to confirm his experiences with other established, reputable sources such as George Adamski, met brothers from other worlds that helped instruct him over the years in person and mentally. The book series is the culmination of such visionary and confirmation efforts written in novel form. It's the Legacy series. Robert Maxxim, our guest in the program. He works in Illinois, working in the field of information technology, and Robert is back with us on the program. Robert, welcome back. It's great to have you on the show today.
Well, it's great to be on the show. Thank you, Rick.
So much. I needed to give some information there if you've been watching the program and following our discussion that's been going on for a number of months. It's fascinating what Robert is going through. It's all in the book, The Legacy series, which is a great read. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, once you're there, you'll be able to go to YouTube and to iTunes, and you can pull up past shows and listen and watch those programs. And if you go to Roberto's website, you can get information as well. That's rgaetan.com, rgaetan.com. Information there that on the book series. And of course, if you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on to Robert's website. We've got a number of questions that come in. We'll try to get to as many as we can during the course of the program today. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can submit a question, and we'll talk about it with Robert on future programs. One here, it's interesting. How do people in other worlds live in contrast to us? We've talked about what you've experienced in other worlds. How does that contrast with life here on Earth?
Well, there are all types of worlds, dimensions, and levels of development out there, with beings evolving much like we are. But my focus is on spiritually progressive worlds where technology serves spirit, not the other way around. We are a warlord type of planet where ego, fear, and anger reign supreme. And here, we're all for pleasing physical consciousness. Out there, people know that they are an extension of the higher self and live to positively instruct their lower nature and grow closer to the higher self. That's the universal norm, to listen to the higher self. So I guess that makes us abnormal, doesn't it?
It does. It does when you put it in those terms, and it's interesting. I'm thinking about quality of life because what you're describing sounds like a state where the quality of life would be superior to what we have here. Is that true?
Health, mentally, physically, in all terms. And if you want to see normal, tell you what, on the unariusunited.com website, we have a couple of postings labeled as prodigies. There you will see 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds that were never taught. And you should see them express in music, language, and science in many ways superior to many so-called experts. Now, that should be the norm. And after seeing something like that, you won't be able to help but to better understand reincarnation, what happens in between life learning experiences, and the true purpose of life. The point is that, yes, you can, and you do, express amazing talents learned in pre-existence, just like the norm, just like people of other worlds. But unfortunately, most people don't believe they can or want to. And like Yoda said, that's why you fail to be normal.
The website that Robert was talking about is unariusunited.com, unariusunited.com. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, there will be two links there for Robert. His website are Gaetan, Gaetan.com, and unariusunited.com, where you will see that information and along with so much more. You're talking about prodigies. I mentioned you did classical piano at age 3. Was part of that the influence from other worlds?
From pre-existence learning, of course, and also from previous lifetimes where I learned music. And I have had several sleep time experiences where I have seen what those lifetimes were.
Fascinating. The information available at unariusunited.com. Robert's website, rgaetan.com. We're talking about all of this. You'll read in the Legacy series, which is a really stimulating, entertaining, thought-provoking series of books. Books available, of course, at Amazon and through Robert's website as well. Another question, what do you think is the world's greatest problem? Is it portrayed in Legacy? And how can we solve it? I guess a three-part question there. And I'm sure not really in 10 words or less. Can you sum up those for us?
Well, I think that's the question of the day, but I would say that, the world's greatest problem is me, of course. Literally.
Yes.
It's ego. Legacy is a search for love, for truth, and for who and what we are. The answer to life is not chaos and selfishness, like most people in this world practice. You can't take it with you, but in the end, you can't get rid of it either in other lives without a lot of effort. So how do we solve it? Well, you have to change the self, not the world. You have to leave the world to those who need it the way that it is and strengthen your higher self, which is not in this world. See, changing or saving the world means that you will be depriving other souls the opportunity you've had here to evolve out of your own lower nature. They have to go through that too. So that's what this planet is for. No wrong is wronger than another. No right is righter than others. There's no end to right or wrong, and where you place your judgment of right or wrong, therein you are, but not others. So what's the greatest problem? Your understanding of life and your personal ego.
We've talked about that so often where ego has come up. How do we leave that behind? How do we get beyond me?
Ego is a construct. It's a learning experience where you begin to adapt to the environment that you see. But as you begin to understand that there are levels of life and expression above the physical where there is no ego, then you start learning all over again how to live in these higher dimensions. And once you understand that and you begin to experience it in between lives, the ego begins to take a lesser and lesser and lesser role. And that's how you evolve out of these dimensions. So eventually, with lifetimes, learning and expressions and comparisons, that's how you begin to tear it down. You can't just say, I'm going to stop my ego. You can't, because you are the ego. You are everything in that ego.
Right.
You can't get rid of yourself. You can only learn about it, manage it, master it. And that comes through a lot of training and experience and testing through different lifetimes.
How difficult was it for you? And maybe it's an ongoing process.
It is. I face my past and my ego all the time. Some people think that ego is a terrible thing to have. It's just a lesson. Again, there's no wrong to wronger or no right to righter.
Right.
It is just where you are in your own scale of evolution. Ego carries you along. It teaches you. It helps to teach you. Some people like to think that it is sin. Well, sin in itself, it's the same thing. It's a process of error correction until you get to the point where you are in autocorrect mode instead of auto incorrect mode.
Yes. Robert Maxxim, our guest on the program. That's Maxxim. We're talking about the Legacy series. His website is argaetan, GAETAN.com. The other website we talked about is unariusunited.com. Both links on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Another question came in, and this is interesting. There's so much good information in the programs when you were a guest on the show talking and in the Legacy series. What do you hope people take away from the conversations on like this one and the Legacy series? When it's over with the Legacy series, for example, they've enjoyed it. This has been a great journey that they've been on for a series of books. What do you hope the takeaway is?
The Legacy is a detailed diary of my own spiritual growth, the challenges that I have had, not only in this, but other lives, and what I foresee in the future being my evolutionary path. It is offered so that others may use it as a gateway to find their way to or be inspired by my own testimonial and lessons learned. Now, whoever is ready, of course, will be prompted and will also be inspired and step forth as I have. Now, whose time is not yet, they will not be able to see the lamp that is at their feet, lighting the way to their future at all times. But as it was with me, their time will come.
Robert Maxxim, our guest in the program. It's Legacy series. A question, you touched on that at the beginning of that answer. How many lives ahead do you have, and will life ever end for you?
Reincarnations, I've lost count. I mean, thousands. I will continue to do so, to come back, reincarnate in this and in other worlds until I've grown out of a desire for carnal delights. As I was explaining, the process of ego and evolving into a more spiritual self, and live as a true spiritual being. Now, as for death, there is no such thing as death or even life. There's only consciousness that never ceases, never dies, and journeys between the physical and the spiritual experience until it evolves from this dimension.
When you go from life to life, is there a progression and evolution during that period? In other words, do you learn from a life previous? Does that help you in the life you're currently in?
Every soul has a development plan. Everybody's different. The higher self, or the spirit, has a plan for its own evolution. It has a coursework. And the different things that you express in every incarnation is based not only on experiences from the past, but lessons that you learn as you go along, as well as training that you get in spiritual worlds in between lives. So, the compass goes from north to south all the time. You have your ups and downs like a sine wave, but eventually souls find their way upwards because they see the infinity of eternity, and it calls you, it draws you, it pulls you in a direction of this eternal journey, which is based on an understanding of energy and love. There's nothing like beginning to really understand the infinite for what it is. And I think most people would be surprised when they really learn how energy works and how the infinite functions, at least in the nearby dimensions.
Right. Robert Maxxim, our guest on the program. A couple minutes left in the program. It goes by way too quickly. I want to take another question from a listener, then a couple things as we wrap up here. And this is interesting because this comes from someone who's watched most of the programs, and he's really impressed. He really is in tune with what you're talking about, but he's asking, what do you tell skeptics? And I'm sure you get skeptics all the time.
Oh,
What
yes.
what do you tell them? How do you handle that?
Well, usually I allow myself to be guided by not only the lessons I have learned, but what the higher self inspires me to do, as well as what universal law ordains. And that must be learned through this process of spiritual evolution. You see, we're not here, unlike most people believe, to convince or save, only to share and to encourage. We're all channels for both sides, the North and the South. And telling these two sides apart is the challenge. And that must be mastered before telling anyone anything. So what I practice is to say nothing unless asked. I don't trust the heart unless I know my state. I know myself and where I'm coming from, what is propelling me. And also, very important, be aware of that ego and try to put it away and be more connected with your higher spiritual self. Otherwise, we might interfere with the evolutionary process of other beings, and that will get us into a lot of trouble. Like Samuel Clemens once said so eloquently, it's best to keep your mouth shut and appear dumb rather than open it and remove all doubt.
Words to live by in all aspects of our lives. A couple minutes left with Robert Maxxim Legacy Series. You'll find it at Amazon all across the country, of course, at Robert's website. We've talked before about turning this into a movie, and you've got a program going on now where people can participate in that process. What kind of progress are you making with the movie?
Well, we're in the process of trying to develop the script right now. It's a very difficult process and it's very costly. So we can only advance as money is able to help. And that right now is, the funds are not all there, so I'm working on that. But I certainly invite listeners to, as they read Legacy, to send me to my website, send me contact information. And I will keep track of everyone that wants to participate. Share with me your favorite sections of the book or any thoughts on the development of the movie, what you'd like to see. And I will certainly be involved in that feedback in the development of the script.
And you can find that information at the website rgaetan, GAETAN.com. The letter R, then GAETAN.com. Go to our website, thisweekinamerican.us, and link on directly. And we'll close with something really exciting you've got coming up in February, the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, 15th annual. You are going to be a featured speaker there. What are you going to talk about? This has got to be fascinating.
Yeah, I will be talking about life and energy to give individuals a better understanding of how that all works. Now, of course, you can't say it all. It's very complicated, but at least a small hint of how everything that we see as material and spiritual, how it all interplays and how it all manifests. It's very interesting to learn. We'll also be showing videos, which I should have soon on my website, on Atlantis and Lemuria. This will be a first. No one has ever seen a live, almost lifelike video of what Atlantis and Lemuria used to look like. And the video will also show how they were destroyed. So I highly ask people to stay tuned. This is coming, and it will be most educational.
Looking forward to that. I got about 30 seconds or so left in the program. This is a multi-day event. This is a world-class event. a number of other speakers there as well. Who are you looking forward to hearing and to learn from?
There are a lot of developing souls that will be participating in the expo and also speaking. Too many to name, and I think they all have something to add to the evolutionary process of every being in their own way. There is no such thing as one way, one road. So the combined word of everyone, I think, will be most fruitful to whomever attends.
So you will be there as a teacher, and if I'm hearing right, a student as well. You'll be taking a notebook and learning as you sit there and take in all the information.
Oh, absolutely. Everything is learning. Everything.
Well,
You gotta take it seriously.
Well, yes, and as you can tell in the series of programs we've done with Robert, it is an evolving concept and one where you help us learn every program when you come on and you talk with us, and it's something that we've learned about your life, that it is an evolutionary process where you are constantly learning, and you can find all of the old programs with Robert at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. They're on YouTube and iTunes as well. Robert Maxxim, our guest on the program, Maxxim. We're talking about the Legacy series. Basically, his story, a series of books that once you start reading, I guarantee you will not be able to put them down. Books are available Amazon all across the country. Information at the website rgaetan, GAETAN.com. And the other website we talked about is unariusunited.com. And of course, you can link on to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and go directly to Robert's website. Robert, as always, a pleasure. Thank you for being with us. Looking forward to doing again. Great information. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Again, looking forward to the next time. Keep the questions coming.
Always fun, yes, and good point. Keep the questions coming. You can email us at the website. There's information there for emailing. You can contact Robert through his website, or you can, there's a little tab at the website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you can, for comments, and just let us know it's a question for Robert. So he'll be back with us on the program. Thank you for listening. You're listening to This Week in America. Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and we're back after these messages.